You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Opening up the truth pipeline for these bitches.
Truth on Tap. Truth.
My right to say how I say it's mine to give my mind, my heart. It's mine to share my songs, my heart.
Truth on Tap.
Invite to use just the mission to use and chop it up and recombine. Chop it up and recombine.
Truth on Tap is now flowing from iHeartRadio. Get your Kierstead fix by Googling Truth on Tap with Kevin A. Kierstead. All the truth you can handle running hot on iHeart, Facebook, Spreaker, and more. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth on Tap.
Whoa! It is 9/12/2014, 7:30, Alpha, Montana. Yeah, Eno's Generic Hip Hop Session 1 to get me fired up a little bit. Following that will be Genghis featuring Stereo Blackstar Super Negro. Yeah, for those of you listening to this live, welcome. For those that are listening to this later because I've referred you here, the whole point of it is to make sure that you understand my positions on various issues. And the reason I'm doing this, I don't like to talk about me. I like to talk about you. I like to talk about world affairs. I'm not so interested in me. I already know me. I'm bored by me. But this is a reference for those who might decide whether they're trying to figure out if they want to be a guest or a co-host on the show, or if they want to follow me because I need to line up a certain degree with their politics, or whatever the case may be. This will be the reference show, okay? Now, I'm sure I'll leave some things out. I've had no time to prepare, and that's part of the first thing I'm going to talk about. I don't prepare my shows. That may change in the future. I like it freestyle. I like it off the cuff. It has an air of truth to it. If you lie or you screw up, you do it in real time, and I like that because it keeps a man honest. So that's the way I do my show. You may not like that. If you're considering a co-host spot or even a guest spot, you might say, this guy, he doesn't have it together like I need. That's fine. That's fine. This is where you learn that. You'll have to decide if I can handle my business under pressure. That's one of the things we'll talk about today. Eno's Generic Hip Hop Session 1.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
That's Wes Johnson. Find him at wesjohnson.com. The greatest on-air personality to ever bless the United States of America. More talent than everybody on Spreaker combined. Yeah, he's got it. He's got it. Genghis featuring Stereo Blackstar Super Negro. I like it. It's French rap. It's a good song. It gets me fired up a little. And I make fun of it. You know, it's hard to picture a French dude being hard. But I kind of like it. I like the way it makes me feel. It's got a little bit of a rocky feel to it, you know. The old myth, the great white hope, the great white hype. There's a white heavyweight champion. My goodness. Until the Klitschko brothers, white people had no chance in the heavyweight division. I mean, Rocky Marciano was the shit, but he was an Italian. So white people claim him now. We do, don't we? They're like Marciano. Marciano never got beaten. Oh, Lordy. I don't normally do shows in the morning. For those of you doing a reference check on me, you'll find that this is an odd time for me to be doing a show. I'm a night guy. I rarely sleep. Back pain, knee pain gets me. Lots of stuff gets me, but back pain is severe and ongoing. That keeps me awake. Been reading some studies lately about the negative effects of not getting enough sleep, and they're just growing and growing. I mean, the database of issues that you will run into if you don't get enough sleep continues to expand just about exponentially. God, people, get your rest if you can. I can't. The doctors don't know how to get me to sleep. They throw pills at me. I won't take them because the pain wakes me up anyway. So now I'm super duper groggy and still awake. If I don't take the pills, then I wake up at least somewhat refreshed if I got a half hour or 45 minutes in. You know. I've got some questions up here that are basically job interview and political interview type questions, because I couldn't figure out a way to consolidate in my mind how to tell you the way I felt about most of this stuff. So I figured I better pull some questions up. Yeah. Yep. You're going to know Kevin after this show if you wanted to. If you didn't, well, you're going to know me anyway. You spur through it. And after this show, I don't want to talk about me anymore. I don't. I'll use me as an example sometimes to beat up on, but it's just boring to me. I'm boring to me. Okay? The stuff I talk about hopefully is interesting to you, and it is interesting to me because I find stuff that I know a little about and want to know a lot about, or I find stuff I know a lot about and want to share with you. Yeah, I learn on the air with my fans. You betcha. You betcha. Wink. Yeah, once this song's over, I think we'll be done with the music for a little while. We'll get into some talking here. How's that sound? Well, Kevin, it's rap. That's all they do is talk over the music. Well, you have a point. That's right.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
And you are listening to Truth on Tap, the extremely rare morning episode, and it is a reference issue. It is about my personal philosophies on major topics. This is a show you'll be able to use if you just want to get to know me. Let's go ahead and start talking about it here. First, I need to do a quick sound check. This will not affect you at all. There we go. And for those in the chat room, I'll get there soon. I'm not neglecting you, but I do what I do on this show, which will also be important to people who are considering future spots on it, is I usually do my spiel, whether it's 20, 30 minutes or an hour, and then I open up the lines for phone calls, because I get very distracted when people are calling in until I get my thoughts out, so I don't like to do that. That could change in the future. Anything I say today could change in the future. I am a person who leaves his mind open. Here's your first thing about Kevin. If you had to sum up Kevin in 3 words, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything. I go with a working truth based on the best evidence on any given topic. Now, you're going to get personal biases included in your judgment. You cannot avoid that unless you're a computer. So, yes, they're going to be there, but I'm going to be able to back them up with reason. All of them. There's nothing you're going to find that I get behind or support that I don't have good reasons for. Now, those reasons may be up for debate. We can discuss that. I pulled up, and it's important that you know that during 95% of my shows, including this one, I don't prepare. I have no preparation. I just pulled up these websites that have these various questions that I thought people might be interested in about me. So I'm going to basically ask myself some of these questions, the ones that I find that are, too specifically for a job or otherwise don't apply to a radio personality. I'll probably skip those. I may read them to you so you know which ones I'm skipping, but then we're going to move on. I'm looking at one website right now that has these questions. This is on Huffington Post, and it's job interview questions. And I found a couple interesting, even though they do tend to focus more on actual job interviews. And that's not what I'm doing with you, but yet it can be revealing. So number one, if we're sitting here, this is something that a interviewer might ask a candidate. If we're sitting here a year from now, celebrating what a great year it's been for you in this role, what did we achieve together? Okay, so I'll go ahead and answer that question. If I'm sitting here with you, my audience, a year from today, all right, so we're talking September 12th, 2015, and we've had a great year. Here's what I'm going to know happened. 1, you didn't waste your time listening to this show. You gained from it. You gained. You either gained perspective, or you gained intelligence, or you gained the most important thing that I could possibly offer you, which is critical thinking skills. Okay? You gained from it. 2, you found it very honest and truthful You found me blowing no hot air up your butt. Don't confuse my comedy with my facts now. When I do comedy, I'm off the clock. So I'm messing around. I might tell you anything when I'm doing comedy. Also, you will feel that you've found a radio show host who is not swayed by intense emotions. That means that I have no racism in my blood. That means that I have no sexism in my blood. That means that I'm not a strict nationalist type of thinker. I accept the views and cultures of other countries and other religions and other races, and I take them very seriously. They are just as good as me, and they're no better than me. And I believe that about every individual on earth. So you can take that to the bank. Let's see, number 2, when have you been most satisfied in your life? When my daughter was born, of course, there wasn't a better feeling in the world, and I don't think there ever will be one to match that. Reconnecting with my friend from high school, who's my girlfriend now, of over 4 years, Tanya, that has been, once I realized how compatible we were, which took about a year, and realized that I wasn't just imagining that things were really this good, they really were this good, I've just been amazed and floored by it. It's an ongoing good feeling. Most satisfied, I'd say, one of the most satisfied times I ever had was when I was in the Air Force in Alaska. I got my first paid writing gig, after hours, of course, doing writing for a small newspaper called the North Pole Independent Newspaper. I got an interview with the new Olympic gold and silver medalist back then, Tommy Moe. That was awesome. And at the same time, I was also coaching a Little League football team. Our first-year Little League football team, I took them straight to the Super Bowl, and we won 26-0. That was the most satisfied labor that I've ever done. And it was a three-pronged attack. Air Force newspaper coaching. What a beautiful time that was. And I was hit very hard and still damaged from one of the kids who happened to be one of the star players. The team voted for 2 MVPs. He was one of them. He had, before the football season, won second place in the Jesse Owens Nationals, the fastest 10-year-old in the country. So, of course, we just handed him the ball and let him score. He was killed in a car accident about 2 months after the season ended. His father, long story short, was in a minivan taking him and his sister to his sister's indoor soccer practice, and he had to swerve to miss a moose, and he was broadsided by a pickup. Both children died. The father lived, and that family had already lost one infant, so they had 1 kid left out of 4. No one that I know in this world has had a harder time than them. But it hit us too. It hit me and the whole team. And I think about it a lot, and it still hurts. It still hurts. And we're 20 years on, and I still feel that pretty strongly. So, was it just because it was a kid? I don't know. It's because he was so beloved in the community. He was into 4-H. Everybody loved. Do you know why he was in the van that day? Just to support his sister at her indoor soccer practice. That's the only reason he was even there. That's the kind of kid he was. That's the kind of kid he was. And bless his soul and his parents. If there is a God, I'll go ahead and give you my religious philosophy now. If there is a God, I hope he takes care of them in the best way possible. I am agnostic. You can look it up. It's a little different than agnostic, but not much different. Because what it asks first is, if you're going to ask me something like, do you believe in God, Kevin? Then I'm going to ask you, what do you mean by God? Because in my experience in this life, at 42 years old now, I rarely see any 2 people agree on what God is. This makes it almost a moot question, a moot point certainly, to ask me if I believe in something that no 2 people are defining the same. If you can get 2 or 3 people or 5 or 10 people to come and say, Kevin, here's what we're talking about when we say God, then I'm stepping over into the agnostic camp. You've given me a clear definition, and I'm going over to the camp that says, I don't know. I don't know if there's a giant invisible dude watching every move we make, ready to cast us into a lake of fire if we screw up, or take us to the greatest of heavens if we do well. I don't know. I don't know if Allah's right, or God's right, or the Prophet Muhammad was correct, or if Jesus walked the earth. I don't know if Ogun, the god of iron and war in Africa, was or is real, or any of the Greek gods, or any of the pagan gods, or any of the others. I don't know if the flying spaghetti monster is more than just a concept. What I do is I stay open-minded to all of those religions, and I listen to what they have to say. That's it. That's all. I commit to none. I listen to all. All right, got religion out of the way. Let's see if anybody's in chat. No, good. Nobody's in chat yet. Good. You fuckers are leaving me alone for a change. By the way, I cuss on this show. Write that down. Also, I pick on my chat room people. I always try to do shows when they'll leave me alone, and then a bunch of people show up and harass me anyway. So this is good. I'm not being distracted right now. I can continue with this. Let's see. This is about being hired for another job. Who is your role model and why? My all-time hero is William Wallace, out of Scotland. I loved what he fought for. Now the movie didn't quite get it right, folks, but they did capture his spirit pretty well in the movie. The book was a little bit better. The non-fiction books were even better that tell the whole story. And what William Wallace fought for was a thing of beauty to me. The way he... let me give you an example. Did you know that there was a man fishing, a Scotlander? Now, at this time, the English had occupied Scotland, and were pretty much bossing, they ran things. And it was easy for them to do because there was an absence of a king at the time, so Scotland was kind of leaderless, so it was easy for them to kind of wedge their way in, and Edward the Longshanks was quite crafty at that. He loved extending English power to wherever he could, so there was motivation there as well. So 4 or 5 guards come up to this Scottish fisherman who has just caught a whole line of fish, and they say, we want those. And William Wallace was there. He saw it. He was riding by. And he stopped and said, well, okay, this guy just spent all day catching these. He needs to feed his family, and he needs to sell some. What if he gave you half? So look at that. There's William Wallace, knowing that it's wrong for these English guards to be taking this man's fish and still trying to make a deal with him. They said, we didn't say we want half. We said we want all. By the time it was over, there were 5 dead English guards, and Wallace was on the run again. It wasn't the first time he had done something like this. So right there gives you a perfect snapshot of what this man stood for. Say nothing of what happened once he started witnessing the rapes and the murders and the major theft and the dominance of the English over the Scots. And he fought right up to the point where he knew he would be drawn and quartered and castrated and disemboweled. And he was. And he knew that would come. He knew if he continued to fight, it would come. But he had to do it because it was the right thing to do for his country. Men like that, women like that, I love them. I model myself after them. I want to be like them as much as possible. That's my role model. He's my only real hero. I've got plenty of other heroes like my grandpa and several people from the military and several ex-presidents, but he's the big dude. Number 5, what things do you like to do? Do you not like to do? That's a very good question. I don't like to be in a leadership position unless there's some type of disaster that requires it, because once you take a leadership position, you're automatically disliked, and I like to be liked as much as possible, but the jealousy starts right away. And I've already experienced some of this on this show because of the show's exponential growth, which has been very satisfying, and I didn't expect it. And I'm feeling some of that now, but now that I'm older, I am able to shrug a lot of it off. So I don't really like to be in a leadership position. If in the event that there's a major disaster, I know how to act under pressure, and I can organize people with clear directives, and I can lead like a madman. It's just not something I enjoy doing, so I will do it when the time comes, if necessary. Tell me, number 6, tell me about a project or accomplishment that you consider to be the most significant in your career. Whew, which career? If we're going to go ahead and talk about radio, I guess we should. I believe that the show that I did that involved Ramsey Swice, Diane Swice, and Brent Workington Tenfish, all four of us, we were talking about the politics of the world. I was trying to bridge the gaps between your typical white American and Arab Americans, and this false concept that many white Americans have that all Arabs are terrorists. So what my goal was there, and I believe I was successful at it, was to bring people together in a way that could spread the understanding between cultures. Because when you don't have understanding between cultures, you have war, you have hate, you have murder, and you have imperialistic behaviors, and you have guerrilla warfare tactics, and you have terrorism. When you understand the differences, then things get solved. Things become okay together. And I try to create understanding between groups that typically hate each other. That's not my goal. It's not my only goal for sure. But I believe I did that with that show. And I could not have done it without Ramsey, Diane, and Tin Fish. So 2 Arabs, one was an Arab American, one was an Arab proper from Jordan, an Italian American from America, American citizen, and a Viking, myself. Yeah, well, no, I had family from England too, but on Dad's side, yes, we came from Norway, traced back to the Norse raiders, active in the Vikings. You could argue that's not something to be proud of, Kev, but I would just say, hey, it's part of our history. What am I going to do about that? You know, I think the Vikings were pretty badass, but I don't think that everything they did was necessarily prudent or proper. I don't know what else to say about that. Tell me more about a project or accomplishment that you consider to be the most significant in your career. Tell me how. I don't know what that means. What's your superpower, or what's your spirit animal? I don't believe in spirit animals. My superpower, I don't have one, but I guess one of my best qualities is I have taken a lot of time in my life to hone my natural craft. I have a natural craft of being able to read people. And I've also focused, not only in a classical educational sense, but in a hobby, in a strictly elective sense, to study information and materials and people that are teaching me how to read people, how to understand people, both through body language and through psychoanalysis, if you will. It's not just that. I've got a very natural knack for being able to quickly understand the mood of a person and their intent, and that has served me very well in life. So if I have a superpower, it's being able to read people extremely well. I've made my mistakes, don't get me wrong there, but as I say that, and as I am explaining to you my personal philosophy, I have to advise that you always follow your gut. I believe the gut instinct may be a compilation of processes that result from your subconscious mind doing a lot of work you don't know about and sending a vibe forward to the conscious mind. Okay, trust that. It may be wrong. Maybe it's wrong 1 out of 10 times your gut instinct. You're in line for a hot dog, something doesn't feel right. Who knows if you might get food poison, or there's about to be a bomb, you don't know. If your gut says there's something wrong here, I need to leave, leave. Go ahead and follow it. Go eat somewhere else. It may turn out would have been the best hot dog you ever had. May turn out there was no danger there. May turn out you could have met somebody that might have advanced your career. That may be what you're leaving behind. But you tell me, do you ignore the gut and then have something terrible happen, or do you listen to the gut and then miss an opportunity? It's going to happen sometimes. You got to go with a rule. So make up your rule. I say follow your gut. I hope that's what you do. Why have you had X amount of jobs in Y years? I've had quite a few jobs. I normally left for pay increases or because I wasn't satisfied with the work. It's really that simple. We're constantly making things better. No, that's really not. No, that doesn't apply here. No. So insert name. What's your story? No, we're doing that. What questions do you have for me? No. Tell us about a time when things didn't go the way you wanted, like a promotion you wanted and didn't get, or a project that didn't turn out how you had hoped. I can't think of, I really can't think of anything that would apply there. I'm sorry. If I can, I'll come back to it. I mean, it's just whatever. I've had shit not work out most of my life. So to find something meaningful in that, I'm not so sure I could do. But we'll return to that if I can think of something. Now, we're going to keep going here. That was the Huffington Post interview questions. I've got a couple others, though, and I think a couple of them you're really going to find very interesting. These are questions that you also may want to ask yourself. It's going to help you define who you are. Okay? So I got this other website up here called, I don't know what it is, it's radiomall.com. And what it is the interview cheat sheets. And this is actually a pretty interesting site. I am going to share this site for those of you that are involved in radio. And I think you'll find it interesting. I'm going to share it on the Facebook announcement for the show you're listening to right now. That Facebook page is facebook.com/TruthOnTapShow. Truth on Tap Show. Don't forget the show. TOTS is an easy way to remember that. Facebook.com/Truth on Tap Show. You'll see the show announcements. You can ask questions about shows you've heard. You can argue points. You can do all of that. Unless you're trolling, I will not delete what you have to say. You can prove me wrong. All for it. What I want is for my audience to always be led to the most accurate answers. So if you can help me do that, you're in. I don't care if it's not what I say. Disagree with me all you want. Just bring the evidence. So, in the announcement for this show you're listening to right now, I'm going to place a couple of links, and one of them, especially for you radio folks, is called the Free Interview Cheat Sheets. Don't miss it. It's pretty good. I may put this later on the show, in the show link. Let me see if I can comment on my own show already. If I can do that, I'll go ahead and put it on the Spreaker page, because some people don't like to go to Facebook. Yeah, there it is. So I'll include these links in the Spreaker description as well. I spelled philosophy wrong. I can't handle that. Oh well, I can't edit it until the show's over, so I hate misspellings. I was an English major with a writing concentration. You should know that. Got 4 books out. I don't talk about my books often on my radio shows. All you've got to do is search my name. They'll come up on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Smashwords, a bunch of other sites. They are fiction. I like writing fiction books. And I'll probably get into nonfiction. The books that I have in the works right now are still fiction, but I do have a couple that I've started and really haven't made much progress on that are nonfiction. Just, you got to be really interested in a nonfiction topic, because you got to have everything perfect, whereas with fiction you can let your mind run wild, and I like to do that. To me, writing fiction is a lot like reading fiction while being able to steer the car, and that's part of what I love about it. You can find those books on all the major websites. Just do a Google search for Kevin A. Kierstead, K-I-E-R, as in steady, and you'll see them all. The books are called The Lost Dialogues of Table 18, Addie's Boom and the Blast Frontier, Name of Alt, and The Unbitten Onion. The next set of questions I'm going to be answering has to do with, this is about jobsearch.about.com, top 10 behavioral interview questions. These get pretty interesting now. I'm not going to answer all of them because they apply directly to jobs, and it doesn't make that much sense. But the ones well, you know what, since I mentioned this first, let's do this first. I mentioned the Radio Mall one, so let's do those first. Those are the most interesting. General questions. Remember, I've had no time to rehearse for these, so here we go. Number 1, what do you like most about your profession? The radio medium, to me, is interesting because there is an element of imagination required on the part of the listener. You don't have visuals. All you have is the audio. And what's more, I love the medium because you can do other things while you're listening to radio shows. So it's very versatile in that way, the podcast, radio shows, whatever. I like interacting with people this way. It's a good way for me to socialize since I don't get out often. So I think that's why a lot of people do radio shows. But more importantly, it's because I want to give something to people, and I want to learn and grow with them. This is not something where I take the position of instructor. This is something where I take the position of your fellow human, and we tackle some tough questions. Number 2, what do you like least? What do I like least about radio? Well, I'll tell you what I like least about Spreaker is the drama factor. There's a lot of attacks from some host on other hosts, and I guess that sells. I guess in a capitalist society, I should cheer for that. And maybe there's a part of me that says, good, go for that, but I won't get involved in it. So what do I like least? Seeing radio hosts attack other radio hosts. And you know, it's funny because there's actually one I like to attack, and that's Alex Jones. But my reason for that isn't that I hate Alex Jones. It's that I realize he's got a huge audience, just like Glenn Beck, and he's lying to them a lot. He's selling fear based on false evidence, and that bothers me. So yeah, I have a problem with him, but I don't spend, you know, I've already done 8 or 9 episodes against him, showing my logic and reason, and that's it. Once in a while I'll bitch about him. But other than that, no, I don't get into the host-on-host bullshit. While we're talking about major personalities, though, I'll tell you why I like who I like and why I don't like who I don't like. Someone like a Bill O'Reilly, I think his politics are pretty good. I think his intelligence is pretty good. I think his method of dealing with other humans sucks ass. You don't yell and scream and intimidate in a debate. If you're confident in your ability to argue your point, you stay cool and collected. Once I see somebody go bully, I'm done with him. I do not like the way he treats other humans. That's all. Don't like the way he does it. Take his same education and his same philosophy and put it into a calmer person, I'll like him. It's that simple. I think Jon Stewart is awesome. I think he's got some great insight. I think Stephen Colbert leans way to the left, but he still is entertaining. Glenn Beck, I think, is a little bit loony, and I think that's part of his draw on people, just like David Icke. People that crazy, you got to watch him. It's like a freak show. Even though some of the stuff he says is right, that's the problem. They pepper in some truth with a lot of inaccuracy and a lot of emotion, and then, you know, people are buying it. Let's see, should your parents have been more or less strict? Well, my parents weren't very strict, and I'm very thankful for it. I was a free kid. I respected them. You know, I wasn't the kind of kid that would cuss at his parents like you see sometimes. I was home when it was time to be home, but that freedom gave me an appreciation for freedom that I still have today, which is probably why I'm so anti-bully. I was never bullied, yet I hate bullies. Why is that? I think it has to do with the fact that I came up free and I signed up to defend freedom, and now when I see somebody bullying their way through anything, I see them imposing upon another's freedom. That goes for your average school bully. That goes for cops that are power hungry. Anybody that's imposing upon an American's freedom for no reason has a problem with me. That you can be certain of. I can sniff out bullies from a mile away, and I love to go after them. I am not alpha male until an alpha male shows up and tries to start bossing me around. That's when the alpha male comes out in me. I'm an alfalfa male. Once an alpha male gets in my face, I'm an alfalfa male. The cowlick pops up on the back of the head. The pants rise to become high waters. I got my dukes up, and I'm ready to rock and roll. Give them a little Jack Johnson, you know. Yeah. I'm 6'5", 250 pounds. I may have some disabilities, but you can do about anything with a surge of adrenaline, and I am trained in martial arts. Don't really need to be, you know, because I can handle myself anyway, but I know what I need to know to take care of myself and those around me, and I will whip some ass if I have to. I never walk away from a good fight. If you could, oh, I'm sorry, are you happy now? Yes, I am happy. I could be happier. My physical pain drags me down quite a bit, kind of indirectly. I could deal with the pain if I could sleep, but the lack of sleep is chipping away at my happiness some. So luckily I have people in my life that I love very much. Tanya, Mallory, my daughter, you know, my other family, and that helps a lot. You know, I don't have a lot of close friends because I've been hurt before by close friends. So I keep everybody at arm's distance when it comes to close friends. That is nothing personal. It's just the way I am. And I've accepted that. If there's one thing I can tell you about me, over the past 10 years that I've learned, it's that as many flaws as I have accepted myself. I'm just the me. That's it. I'm not trying to change anymore. So don't get that confused with keeping an open mind. I'm talking about my behavior. I'm not trying to change anymore. I'm just accepting who I am. Once you're 40 years old, I say you go ahead and settle in. Yeah, by then you know who you are. So I am who I am. Those that don't like it, sorry about that. You'll have to find other people. Those that do like it, thank you. Next, if you hadn't been born in this century, when and where would you have liked to have lived? Wow. Well, my first instinct tells me I would love to have fought alongside William Wallace. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and say the late 13th century, say 1298, give or take. And I love my English brothers today. So it's not like that. It's just what was happening at the time. I guess. I haven't really thought about that. Hell, I'd like to go back to caveman days, see how they lived. My favorite branch of psychology, I studied psychology in college. It was my second major, and most people were behavioralists. Behavioralism is, kind of like the math of psychology. Not me. I believed fully in behavioralism. I think it does show you the math of psychology. It's very black and white. Empirical data collection, doing experiments in control conditions. I'm all for that. But it doesn't answer the why. And I think you got to look at evolutionary psychology if you want to understand a lot of the why. How do we get here? Well, let's take a look back. Let's take a look back at how we've lived for the last 50,000 years. Now you can start to see how we got here. I love evolutionary psychology. It's one of the 6 major branches, and it's my favorite one. So yeah, I would love to go back and be a fly on the wall to watch cavemen live. If you could go back in time, what would you do differently? I've got some mistakes I would undo. That's for sure. I don't really have another answer for that right now. I would undo whatever mistakes that I know today I committed. Yeah, why not? Who are your heroes? I've already told you who my heroes really are. I mean, we'll get into a few more. William Wallace is the king, Mac Daddy of my heroes. Socrates is my philosophical hero, with a close second place to Pythagoras. Politically, my heroes, in America anyway, would be JFK, would be Abraham Lincoln. I know these sound kind of cliche, but hey, they got their names for a reason. James Madison. Let's see, who else? I kind of liked what Reagan did with people and interpersonal relationships, how he was able to strengthen the core of America from within. I like that. I voted both Republican and Democrat, but we'll get into politics later. So I'd say those are my favorite American heroes as far as the political front goes. And then you get into Martin Luther King Jr., who I think did a major thing. Rosa Parks, what she did for black people was amazing. Susan B. Anthony, for women. I mean, these are things that needed to be addressed, because what did they, again, if you know me, I hate injustice. I hate anything that imposes upon an American's freedom. So when our laws and our practices imposed upon the freedoms of minorities or women, I have a problem with that in my heart. I don't like it. I like fairness and equality. You don't get fairness and equality often, but that doesn't keep me from fighting for it and from pointing out when it's not happening. So yes, I have black heroes, and I have women heroes, and that's the way it is. Who do you have no respect for? Terrorists that kill innocent people in the name of an invisible God, got no respect for them. Let me go ahead and give 2 crooked middle fingers and a fuck you out to ISIS and Al-Qaeda, and I said it. Also, even though I have a little respect for the fact that he understands the capitalistic machine and is using it, again, Alex Jones, I think he's hurting us. I really do think he's hurting us with the conspiracy theories. If you don't want to believe in that, you should go check out September's issue of Scientific American Mind magazine and see how bad conspiracy theories are hurting us. If you can also do some Googling and look at an article that was on cracked.com, and you'll go, oh, it's a satire site. Well, it was an awesome freaking article. I did a show about it. Conspiracy theories are killing us, folks. About 10% of them deserve a good second look, a little bit of digging. 90% of them are bullshit, and they're a waste of time, especially when you get into the immunization conspiracy theories and the moon landings and all of that. So, let's see. Let's see if anybody's got questions in chat. No, good. Wow, I'm being unimpeded here. I love it. That's good because this is a reference show. You know, this isn't meant to entertain. This is meant for people who want to get to know me. Let's see. Who do you have no respect for? What do you do in your spare time? My spare time? Gosh, that's a good question. In my non-spare time, I'm either doing this show or working on computers or reading. I guess in my spare time, I like to get on my scooter. Love to ride my scooter. It's one of the few ways I can travel comfortably because I can lean over. I need to lean forward to get some comfort. You know, and my face would be in the steering wheel in a car, so that's a problem. And I got a special cushion for my scooter so I can handle these rides. And I love to ride around my small town on my scooter. I love to go to the beach, take pictures. Just beautiful. Something about standing next to the water touches me on a level I can't even explain. And I write fiction, and I can't explain it. So, yeah, that's a big deal to me, standing next to the water on the Chesapeake Bay. In my ideal world, I would be probably on a beautiful blue ocean and a white sand beach, some house there or hut. But, you know, you take what you can get, so I'll take the murky brown water of Chesapeake Bay, since that's what I have in front of me. Are you politically active? If you mean, do I vote? Yes, I do. If you mean, do I push a bunch of separate issues? No, I don't. I talk about them on this show, and that's the extent of it. I send letters here and there. I'm always tangling with the VA. Veterans Affairs is treating veterans like dogs, and we're letting it happen. If you're an American, please, let's do something to change the VA. Do something. What I'd like to see happen is the abolishment, the complete destruction of the VA, folded into the federal government's Medicaid program and call it Medicaid Part V. Done. We get to go to the same doctors everybody else does. Let's see. Do you do any volunteer work? No, I don't. I often, well, actually I do. I fix people's computers for free if they can't afford it, or if they're friends, and I end up giving half of my, I like to make these paracord bracelets out of parachute cord, because it's very strong, and I have a connection since I've been skydiving twice, plus I was in the Air Force. So in World War II, they used to, when they'd land in Germany or France, they would cut away their parachute, but they'd cut a lot of the cord and take it with them because it was so useful. It's so strong. And yeah, I'm kind of into the paracord craze. I make bracelets and pouches and stuff, and I sell them, but I also give them away. So I guess that would be considered volunteer work. How has America changed in the last 10 years? Holy shit. How hasn't it changed in the last 10 years? I have seen a vitriol rise up since Barack Obama took office, and it's kind of good that he did for the purposes of this question, because there's a stark contrast between George W. Bush and Barack Obama and the response of the people between those two administrations. I have seen a type of hatred, nasty, ugly hatred come out since Barack Obama has taken office that I've never seen in this country before. Now, you can say it's not racism. I can't prove it is. You can say it's a sudden hatred after 9/11 for the left because, I don't know, maybe they're not as strong on military stuff. You could say any of that, and I couldn't prove you wrong. But I know what's going on. I know what's going on. I know that most of it is the black guy. You can say it, but I know. I know. And the fact that he came from a biracial relationship drives some white people crazy. The fact that he looks African American drives some white people nuts. That's too bad. And they'll go out and they'll read things and they'll look for political reasons to dislike him in public. But deep down, at the root, they're hating the fact that there's a half black man in the White House. They're hating it. So there's a part of me that cannot wait until he's not in the White House anymore, because I cannot stand the tempo of the hatred that I'm smelling from the Americans that are pissed off about a biracial man being in the White House. I want that gone. So, yep, I'm looking forward now. You think it was bad with the black guy? Wait till we get the woman in. If Hillary runs and wins, oh my God. Because think about it. Think about how many sexist type arguments are going to rise up in your average American household, all races. Hillary says something, a guy is sitting at home and he's eating dinner with his wife, and he laughs and says, she don't know what the fuck she's talking about. And the woman, who may not even like Democrats, may have voted Republican, say, what do you mean she doesn't know what she's talking about? Well, you know, what does she know about war? She's never done anything. And then the woman says, what, you think that a woman has to be in war to know about war? So there it starts, you see. There it starts. The woman subconsciously is defending her sex, and the man subconsciously is offending her sex. So you want to talk about mayhem? Wait till a woman gets in office on either side. Whether one runs for the Republicans or the Democrats and wins, wait till a woman gets in office. You think it's bad now? That's going to be ugly, folks. It's going to turn the battle of the sexes into the fucking all-out savage beast war of the sexes. That's what's going to happen. And I guarantee you, those that are sexist now, that are able to blend into the woodwork, they will be exposed in the same way that many racists that used to blend into the woodwork have been exposed since the election of Barack Obama. I need to take a quick look on my camera. I think I just heard a car door shut. Someone may be here. Nope. Okay. By the way, I advise everybody get security cameras. They're cheap now. Let's go ahead and talk about that for a second. Security versus privacy. That's a big debate in America. We're going to talk about it a little bit. As far as your home goes and your personal travels, I recommend you get yourself a cheap key fob camera. You can get them for like $5 on eBay. Get yourself one, and anytime you're pulled over by police or you otherwise see something that may be important, maybe you think a robbery's taking place, click that little sucker on and film. That's how you're going to get justice in this world. And without it, you probably won't, because it's going to be your story versus theirs. Anytime you're pulled over by the police, know your rights. Know your rights. In most states, you have to provide, if you're driving a car, you have to provide identification that shows you're allowed to be driving that car. And you probably have to provide the registration and the insurance proof. That's it. If they say, mind if I have a look around your car, what you should say is, I do not condone any searches. If you don't do that and you say, sure, why not? You're forgetting. You may be perfectly innocent and say, look, I'm just trying to help the cops. Well, you're not really helping America when you do that. You need to look at your Constitution and see what your rights are and realize when someone's trying to infringe upon them. Unless there's probable cause, the cops cannot search your vehicle or you. So all you have to say to an officer after you've provided those things is, am I being detained or am I free to go? That's it. All you have to say is, I don't answer questions, because they will probe you for information. And we need to keep some distance between the way America is now, and it's getting kind of bad, to Nazi Germany, when you were asked for your papers around every corner. They don't have a right to that, folks. So know your rights and exercise them. All right? I'm all for the cops catching criminals. I am not for the cops picking on people who aren't doing anything wrong. Don't let them get away with that shit. I wanted to say more. Oh, the security thing. Get the cameras. They're cheap. You can set up home cameras. I had a guy try to break into my house a few weeks ago. I did get photos of him. Luckily, the camera worked. I did buy one of the cheap ones, so I'm surprised it worked. That helped. And, you can also, the way they're set up now, you get an IP camera, they're called. You can be at work, or on a trip, and you can pull the thing up on your phone. And if you get a pan tilt, you can scroll it around. We can look at our cats from a remote location. I don't have the DNS forwarding service, I think it's called, set up right now, so we can't do it remotely. But you can still do it from your computer. So, It's a very good thing to have so that you can have some security at home, and you get a camera in somebody's face. Even the guy that I caught trying to break into my house, as soon as he saw the camera, when he came up to knock on the door, he put his hand up so it would block his face, but my camera caught him walking away and caught the side of his face. So cheap stuff to set up. If you don't know how to do it, get somebody to do it for you. You will be glad you did. Okay, have some security stuff installed at your house. Cameras are dirt cheap these days. Great way to check on your pets, great way to, if you've got one of those people in your life that always worries she left the coffee pot on or something, you can check from the phone instead of having to come all the way back. All kinds of good things about those cameras. At the same time, respecting privacy is important. You don't want your cameras in a place where a guest cannot come in and not be anywhere that a camera isn't watching them. That's a little freaky, and I wouldn't. That's why mine just faces straight out the front door, and I rarely scroll it anywhere. Privacy, and there is always an imbalance and a tug of war going on between security and privacy, and that goes to a very broad macro scale that you need to be aware of. After 9/11, remember, people were scared, so they were giving up a lot of their privacy for the security, letting the police do just about anything. They needed to look here or look there, thinking maybe they'll snag a terrorist. Well, since 9/11, the police forces in America have become quite militarized. Just look at their gear. And we have to remember that in this country, the way it was established from the Constitution writing on was so that in the event we needed to, the regular population could overcome law enforcement and the government. Overcome it in order to, whatever you want to say, get rid of tyrants, to insist on justice, to make sure the Constitution was followed and obeyed and respected. Okay, that's why they have to have a search warrant if they're coming to your house. Don't let anybody in your house without a search warrant, because that's just saying, hey, who cares about those rights everybody fought and died for? I'll let you come in. Anyway, security along with privacy are always going to be at battle. You got to decide which one's important to you. But you can actually have both if you just use your brain. We talk about that a lot on this show. What's next? Let's see. Politically active, volunteer work. How has America changed in the last 10 years? How have you changed? How have I changed in the last 10 years? Not much. I'd say I have matured a lot. I have learned what's important and what's not. I'm very confident in my ability to think quickly and to react quickly. And I haven't changed much politically. I will go and vote Republican or Democrat based on the need of the day and who's running. I stay that flexible, and that's very important to me that I do stay that flexible. So I will vote on either side of a ticket. Depends on who's running and what the issues are. It's that simple. What's the side of you that the public never sees? That's a good one. The public never sees me wincing in pain. And I can make faces that would probably scare a wild boar. Severe lumbar arthritis is an underrated disability. It is something that can command your entire brain with all the pain signals it's sending. And I don't let the public see that side of me. When I go out in public or out to basketball games for Mallory, I'm going to look just fine to you. But you can ask my girlfriend. There are times when we've gotten to the car, and as soon as I shut the door, I scream. Yeah, it's a male scream. It's a manly scream. It's not a bitch scream. But yeah, I do, because it's that bad. Do you sometimes feel that there are two different versions of you? Yeah, there are, but I don't hide either one of them. You have the one you're hearing right now, and then you have the one that you'll see if you ever threaten my family or innocent people while I'm around. And that version of Kevin is pure animal. He does not rely on thought much. It's action. And if you have come in and threatened the people around me, you are in danger, and it's important that you know that. I don't And that's how much percent of my life would that be the case? Literally, you're talking about what, 0.001%? Stuff just doesn't happen often like that. But that is the other version of me. I become an animal when I have to, and I'm not afraid of that, because I know that we're animals first, and this whole civilized behavior thing, this is learned. This is learned, and it's something that you think is part of you, but really, you're going to set it aside if you have to. Just imagine somebody coming up and slapping your kid in the face right in front of you. Perfect stranger. You're an animal. You're going to be an animal. Imagine going to jail. All that dressing, all that civilized behavior is removed at the door. You're back to being an animal. After all, they're putting you in a cage. So we're animals. I believe that firmly. We're animals with opposable thumbs, some decent language skills, and the ability to reason, and a learned civilized behavior if we're lucky. Do you wish you had more privacy? I think we got to watch it closely as a country, because with the internet, they're just all up in your business. So, with the stuff that Edward Snowden, although I think he was a coward puss, the way he went about it with the stuff he exposed, yeah, it gets me concerned that we don't seem to be entitled to privacy anymore. And there's this philosophy going around that you just need to give up your privacy. You're signing up for everything. You're on Facebook. Stop expecting privacy. And I think that's wrong. I think we should be able to expect privacy while engaging in social networks and the internet. The more you let them in, the more control you're giving away. Just remember that, as far as the government goes. Do you think the public and critics expect too much from you? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Next, how hard do you push yourself? That's a good question. I think through turmoil over the past 20, 30 years, I've learned to push myself into dangerously long levels of activity. And I feel like that's me. That's part of who I am. And there are other days I sit around and do nothing. I just put ice on my back. I've got frostbite on my back from putting so much ice on it. And big frostbite scar, that kind of thing. It's serious. It's serious. When are you completely satisfied with your work? I'm completely satisfied with my work as far as this radio show goes when I come with energy. Energy is hugely important to me. When I listen to a radio show, I want to hear energy in it. And when I do one, I want to put energy into it. So those shows that you hear that I'm really low-key, I'm not liking that afterward. I'm thinking that's not good. You got to come with energy. If you're going to give some type of public presentation, I want to see energy. I want to give energy. And unfortunately, my default setting is low energy. So I've got to drink a crap load of coffee just to get motivated enough to do a radio show. And then, usually if I've had enough, I've had about 3 mugs, then I can kick a little ass. Let's see. There's only a couple left. Why have you succeeded in a field where so many others have failed? I would say I have succeeded in radio, but I'm getting there. And the first thing you got to do is conquer your fear of public speaking. You got to kill it. Especially in this day we were just talking about privacy. There's probably video of you on YouTube right now. There's probably audio recordings of you somewhere. Go ahead and get used to that, even if it's not on your own stuff, and understand that you have no reason to fear speaking in public. Well, what are you worried about? That you don't know as much as somebody who might be looking on or listening? Yeah, that's true. There's always going to be somebody smarter than you out there. But if you feel a certain way and you have enough feeling about it, go share it with the world. You might help somebody. It's part of the human condition. Share yourself. What's the magic formula for success? I couldn't tell you that. I don't think I've ever attained much success. My books haven't sold very well, even though they've got high ratings. My radio show doesn't have 10 million listeners, even though it has high reviews. If you want success in the traditional sense, you have to be highly motivated at all times. You have to be very hungry for it, or else you're just not going to get it. That's really all it is. Effort. Much effort. Okay, let's see how long we've been going here. 24, it's 8:30, so we've been going 1 hour, and that means that Pappy needs a break, which means you're going to get a song or two. And then I'll come back and complete this episode of what you need to know about Kevin and his philosophy. so that in the future, if you have any questions about me, you can always come back to this episode and it'll be in here. Just about everything that matters. Now, what would be an appropriate song for that? I love this bedtime blues song. It's a comedy song. It's actually good blues music about a guy whose kids don't want to go to bed. And it's very interesting. And after that, let me see what I'm going to do. Well, this is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard, and I don't even know what it means. I think it's in Italian or something. L'Amadio Teato by Sacjo 22, featuring Erlomeg, Borja, and Smojos. So I'll load that up. For those who may have joined late, there will be a quick commercial. This will tell you how to follow me and this show in the future. And I may, when we come back, talk a little bit about how I got my start on Blog Talk Radio. Like most people that end up at Spreaker. It's interesting. It's an interesting little story. And I get to blame Miss April Johnson Walton for getting me into this radio mess. So, yeah, we'll do that. So you're going to hear those two songs, and then in the event that I'm gone long enough afterwards, you'll hear Alex's Purple Nurple, but I think I'll be back by the end of that. So that is that, and here goes.
On Tap is now flowing from iHeartRadio. Get your Kierstead fix by Googling Truth on Tap with Kevin A. Kierstead. All the truth you can handle, running hot on iHeart, Facebook, Spreaker, and more. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth on Tap.
You know what it is.
Hey kids, listen up. This is how it's going to go down. You have to the count of 10 to get your behinds in a bed before I take away your video games. I ain't laying around. And they say, Dad, please no, Dad, take away anything but that. We promise to be good, not bad. Won't you please give us one more chance? I say alright, good night, turn the light out. I don't want to hear any more mugging about.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead. to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Hey everyone, this is Grandpa Al Krushko from the Southern Cowboy Grandpa Al One Voice Network, inviting you to tune in for chat, rants, raves, and vents, along with thoughts and comments from special guests and some great music to help ease the pain until your next therapy session. That's 2 p.m. Central Time, Saturday rants, and Sunday brunch with Ed and Al, right here on Spreaker, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.com.
Grandpa Al, a Navy SEAL, one of many veterans who I have a lot of respect for. And we're getting back into Kev's philosophy. This is a reference. This is how you get to know me if you want to learn about me in a short period of time. So I don't want to get off topic. I don't want to start bouncing around. I want to keep this pretty direct. This is what I would consider essentially an auditory press kit. There is that. Now, I was looking at the radiomall.com's free, what do they call it? Free something interview cheat sheets. And I asked the first section, well, they have a whole part 2 on it. So I think I'm going to go down some of these too. And then from there, I might talk a little bit about the major political issues we have today, but I might not. I probably already have answered those. I don't want to do too much overlapping here because I want to keep this consolidated. So let's get it going again. And I'm moving into section 2 now. What do you think about reincarnation? I don't know. I have no reason to believe in it. I have no proof it doesn't happen. What about astrology? I think astrology is pretty much snake oil. I don't think where the stars were when you were born have a whole lot to do with anything. What about life on other planets? I believe unequivocally that life exists on other planets. The chances for it in a universe the size of ours is just too high. It's just too high. But do I believe aliens have visited this planet? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. But I do definitely believe there's life in the universe. I would bet my life on it. If somebody had a gun to your head and they knew the answer and they said, you got to be right now, is there life in the universe outside of planet Earth? I'd say yes. Is there a battle of the sexes? You bet there is. It's subtle now. If a woman gets into the presidential, the Oval Office, it's going to not be so subtle. Who's winning? Women will always win. Are we returning to a more romantic time? I don't think so. How do you define macho? Well, most macho guys are assholes. Yeah, that's macho is I have no problem with being masculine if you're a man, but macho is the next step up. It's being cocky, and I don't like it. Let's see. Do you believe in the traditional roles for men and women? Traditional roles? No. I believe in the roles that they decide they want to play, so long as that doesn't harm anyone else. If you were a man or woman, okay, so they're saying if I was a woman, how different do you think your career would have gone? Wow, that's a good question. I can't answer that. I've never even given any thought to that. Sorry, I just have nothing. What's the most unbelievable rumor ever printed about you? Printed? I don't know. I'm sure I haven't seen them all. What was the most important day of your life? The day my daughter was born, undeniably. That fine June day in the year 2000, I felt something happen inside my soul that I've never felt happen before or since, and it was incredibly, deeply satisfying. Don't understand it, and I don't know if I want to. I think that would pull some of the romanticism out of it. The evolutionary psychologists would probably say, well, Kevin, you had one of your offspring guaranteed to carry your genes on pop up that day and show she was alive, whereas a typical mother would say, you were a father, you saw your baby born, you felt love in its purest form. So who's right? I don't know. Do you worry about whether people like you for the real you or because you're a celebrity? I am anything but a celebrity. If I become a celebrity, I will not be any different than I am right now. And whether or not people like me, I generally do want people to like me. But if they don't, as long as I like myself, and I don't love myself, but I do like myself, then I'm good with it. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. I want people to like me, but once they don't, I don't feel like I can change that. I just keep going. Do you make friends easily? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I make friends remarkably easily, but I always keep them at arm's length as well. Which do you enjoy most, a night on the town or staying in with that someone special? Well, it depends on the situation, but I think my nature is one of a hermit, and I do like staying inside and the home front, and I find it very relaxing and calm. And just like I tell my girlfriend, if you've got problems, we should be able to hang our problems at the door when we come in. When you come home, this should be your island oasis. If you can't feel comfortable inside your own home, there's a problem, and it needs to be addressed. And because we communicate so well, we don't even argue. We don't. We just, as soon as a problem starts rising up, we just talk about it. What's your favorite pig out food? Oh my God. I guess right now, pig out food, not my favorite food really, but I'd say the one I go to right now is chicken wings from, what do they call? I don't even remember. Tyson's chicken wings with ranch dressing. Holy shit. The honey barbecue ones. Yeah, I can go through a bag of them. What do you do for exercise? I occasionally limp as we do ghost hunting in Old House Woods in Diggs, Virginia. I limp around with a cane. That's my exercise. At least the only exercise I'm going to tell you about. What's your favorite sports team? The Washington Capitals. And you know this, man. I actually have another radio show which should be reinvigorated this hockey season once it gets underway, called Caps on Tap. So yeah, I do love my Washington Capitals, have loved them since their birth in 1974. I was 2 years old, but I love them. And ever since I've known about them, I've loved them. If you were president, what's the first thing you'd do? Holy shit, that's a question, isn't it? I think the first thing I'd do, to be honest with you, is put boots on the ground in Syria. Yeah, that's what I said when it first broke out. Once you've got people being attacked by their government, and that government is coming in under the government authority and raping 10-year-olds and then beheading the whole family, I think if you're America, you got to have boots on the ground to stop that. So that's just me. But it's not one of the more meaningful things, depending on your frame of mind, that a president might do as soon as he gets into office. But I don't have to worry about that because I'll never be president because I'm far too honest to run for an office like that. And then here's another one. Some people think that blank subject's name has it all. What don't you have? I guess that's a good question. I'll tell you a weakness that I have that I don't see as a weakness, but I think everybody else does, is that I won't get into drama whenever I can avoid it, and drama sells. It does. This show would have 5 times as many listeners if I would engage in the drama, and I just won't do it. So yeah, that's a weakness, at least for the marketability of this radio show. They've got questions for musicians here. They've got questions for authors. Who's in the chat? Ash first. What's up, Ash? This is a Ash with 2 H's, by the way, you guys. Good morning. And this is one of those shows I'm doing so people can get to know me really quick, Ash. So I have to stick with the, I'm trying to stick very closely to the questions. And I've just pulled up these random questions that are, interview questions for different types of people. I'm answering them because I get a lot of questions that I have to answer over and over and over. And I don't want to. I'm just going to start pointing people to this show. So the next thing, and I'll get back to you in chat there in a minute, Ash, especially if you have any clarification questions, if I haven't answered something clearly. I'll always appreciate it. Is from Policy Mike from mic.com, Mike.com. And it's just the top 10 major issues in politics they see today. Again, I've had no preparation. I Googled this and pulled it up. The economy. I think the economy is still hurting. We're on the road back up. It's going to go up and down forever in a capitalist society. That's it. War hurts the economy, but it also helps the economy. The military-industrial complex is a money-generating machine, but it is also a money-hungry machine. So very fine balance there. Our economy will make it. We are we are going to dip again. Don't be surprised. It'll happen every 20 years or so. We're going to take a major dive. So that's something I don't know if we'll ever be able to fix in a capitalist society. Immigration. Immigration, I think you need to come into this country the legal way. And if you don't, I am not against deporting you. We have people waiting legally in line all over the world to come into this country. There's a process to follow. Okay, if they're going to wait in line, but you're going to walk across the border, I'm supposed to just say, okay, you made it, good. I mean, ISIS, Al-Qaeda could be walking across the border. That's not good for me. There's a reason we have a process. I want you in the country. If you're a law-abiding citizen, I want you here. Mexicans, Canadians, Argentinians, doesn't matter where you're from. America becomes stronger when you're here, but you got to come in the legal way. Number 3, gun control. Gun control, I think we need to control automatic weapons, but that every American, every law-abiding American has a right to own as many firearms as he or she would like to defend their property and their family. That also goes for concealed carry permits. I think they're fine. I think they're kind of a bad idea because we are emotional creatures, but I do believe that the law permits it as it pertains to the Constitution, and for that reason I am in support of it. But if you do decide to use your gun out there in public with your concealed carry permit, be prepared to defend your actions in court. Healthcare, number 4. As far as Obamacare goes, I believe there's a lot of good in it, some bad. I know we needed to do something, because think about what we had before, folks. We had poor people or people that just didn't want to get insurance going into the emergency rooms and leaving that bill for everybody else to pay, okay? This is why you're going, how come a Tylenol costs $16? Well, that's why. So we had to do something. So I'm glad something was done. I'm sorry so many people are believing myths about Obamacare. Obamacare has some weaknesses that need to be fixed, but it's not going anywhere. It is law now. So now it's a question of let's make it work for us. That's all. We needed something, and I believe in the richest country in the world, everybody should be able to have insurance. 5, partisanship. There's half of me that says it's healthy to have these two dueling major parties. But then there's half of me that says it's only healthy if they know how to negotiate. This I won't budge position that you often see in our Congress today is unsustainable. It is immature. We need to put people in office who can negotiate. That means you're going to have to give up a little bit of what you want to get a little bit of what you want. You're not the only side in this argument. You're not the only side representing your people. There is another side, and that means you give some and you get some. So, yeah, partisanship can be a tricky one, but I definitely encourage the ongoing, thick discourse about major issues in this country, and I do not approve of anything along the lines of censorship. People need to be able to speak freely about what they feel, and that's all there is to it. And in my ideal America, you say what you want to say. You may have a social price to pay for it, but you should never have a legal price to pay for it. Same-sex marriage, the old me 20 years ago would have probably said no, would have probably said, look, marriage was meant for man and woman. But now, the 20 years later, I'm looking at it saying, how can I tell two people who genuinely love one another that they can't enjoy the same benefits that I and my wife will enjoy? That feels unfair to me, so I have to support same-sex marriage. 7, war on drugs. This war is almost futile, but, I am against fighting for the major drugs, the ones that are killing a lot of Americans coming in. The marijuana thing, I've never been a huge fan of marijuana, but it's legal in 20-something states now, so let's let the law do what it does. The people have spoken, and I believe in following what the people say in my America. So that's what they're saying. That's what I'm going to go with. So, yeah, I think the war on drugs for the ones that are very deadly and killing people left and right, and the kind of stuff that keeps the gangsters in control, that war has to be fought. Number 8, voter ID laws. I believe that there's nothing wrong with requiring voter ID to avoid voter fraud. However, I think that the states that decide to do this, if it is a state-run thing and not federal, need to ensure that they have made it as easy as possible for people to get an ID, because otherwise it's going to be seen as voting control by pushing away the poor people, aka the majority being minorities, because they can't get their ID. So that has to be addressed before voter ID laws can be enacted, in my view. The chances of you having somebody voting 7 times in different locations for the same candidate are relatively slim compared to how many people wouldn't be able to vote if IDs were required starting today. Climate change, number 9. Climate change is real. Climate change is not a fraud. 97% of climatologists agree that we are in a major climate episode that is not natural right now. It far exceeds anything we've seen in history, and you need to take it seriously. And if you've heard a few skeptics get in, create your doubt, trust me, you're looking at 3 parts per 10 million of evidence for versus against. Climate change is real. You need to do your research on that. If you don't want to believe it, I can't help you. If you want to believe science, you will believe it's real. The carbon count is not lying. 350 parts per million carbon in the atmosphere. You need to understand when someone says global warming, they're not saying you're supposed to have hot days in December. We're talking about a couple of degrees Celsius at the poles. We're talking about melting ice caps. And people say, well, the ice caps are coming back. Anything can spike up or down short term. We're talking about the overall trend, okay? Because once that water gets into the salt water, and you got fresh water getting into the salt water, and you got your salinity dropping, then you got your currents slowing down or stopping, and you got your coral reefs dying, it will be a domino effect. And don't even talk about weather. The domino effect will destroy us. Say nothing of the climate refugee problem that's already surfacing. You want to see a good documentary about it? Watch The Island President. It's real, folks. I don't want it to be real, but it is not some kind of industry scam, okay? These scientists and their core samples tell facts. Were there a couple scientists screwing around with some numbers at one company? Yes, there were. But that doesn't mean shit. Again, you're talking about 2 or 3 parts per 10,000 evidence. You can't ignore the rest because you found a couple of corrupt ones. If that was the case, we wouldn't have a government. If you found 3 corrupt politicians, would you shut down the government? So let's use our brains here, all right? Don't believe what just the talking heads tell you. Do your research. Foreign policy. Foreign policy, I believe that as the richest and strongest country in the world, we have to help those countries that have been either invaded or attacked while having not provoked their attackers. I think we need to protect people from their own governments where we can. You have to keep in mind, and I hear this bullshit all the time, we got to stop giving to foreign countries, spend that money at home. First of all, we give 1% of our annual budget to foreign aid. 1 frickin' percent. Number 2, every time you say you want to spend it at home, then the question of welfare or personal, help of any type, food stamps comes up. You say, oh, they shouldn't be getting that. So I guess you just want it spent on infrastructure. A lot of hypocrisy and political beliefs for people that don't get into it. So foreign policy, we need to help our allies at all times. We need to realize that we may not be number 1 in the world in 30 or 40 years. We may be number 2 and 3 behind China and Russia. That's just the way things are going. Okay, if that happens, what happens? Your allies look to how you behaved when you were in power, and they'll remember that shit. So you help your allies at all times. You don't break yourself. 1% of our budget's not breaking us. You just make sure to help them when you can, help the peoples of the world when you can, and if you can help feed people and you can help clothe people, you do that, keeping in mind that unchecked population growth at this point is unsustainable. And my good friend Joe sent me a book called Ishmael about a talking gorilla, which is highly ironic because this talking gorilla had nothing but pure wisdom to speak. And he said, look, you feed 20,000 that are starving, they breed. And now you've got 50,000 20 years later. Now you got to feed them. Well, they're going to breed. Now you've got 280,000 20 years later. Now what are you going to do? You can't keep it up. Nature trims herself back in every species. Now, if we can find a way to create food constantly and sustainably, then we can let the population go wild. But right now, that's not sustainable. People are going to die of starvation. We're losing 25,000 a day right now from hunger or hunger-related illness. 18,000 of those are children. Okay, so when I hear people talking about 3 people that were killed in a roller coaster accident, and they're consumed with this story, and they're talking about it for 3 months, and I'm thinking 25,000 died during the time you've been talking about this, I think you need to take a look at numbers. Numbers matter. So anyway, as far as foreign policy, you help your allies, you treat them as your own, and you help people when you can, and you do not insert yourself into every foreign affair there is, but where you can, you help justice happen. Okay, and I think we've done a fairly good job of that. The problem is that our foreign policy has not been stable. What we need to do is get it written concretely so that every country out there knows what the United States is going to do before an event happens. Get it concrete, written out. Yeah, it can be changed over time, but it's so flimsy right now, nobody can trust us on it. You know? What are we going to do if, let's say, Argentina invades Cuba? What are we going to do? Do we have a policy for that? Well, we don't know. We don't like Cuba because of the politics in the past. Okay, so we're going to let Argentina murder all of those people. What are we going to do? That should already be written out, so there's no surprises. That's what I believe about foreign policy. Keep our nose out of business where possible, but when it comes to international law, we need to help enforce that and protect those. That's about it on my political issues. Abortion, I think, is a woman's right. You know, and I know that's not a popular view, but I believe it's a woman's right. And what else? We did same-sex marriage already. Ash says, I'm paying taxes for my country, not foreign ones. Well, I understand why you think that, Ash. We do need to pay off our debt. We've got a huge debt. And focus on the poverty. But keep this in mind, Ash. Some of this foreign aid we're giving is protecting America directly. Some of it's protecting America indirectly. And for our allies, how can we justify not helping them? You know, if we, you know, you hear the news a lot of times. It wants to make it look like we're all super poor. But how many Americans do you know right now that are homeless? I'm betting that 99% of the people you know have a roof over their head, they have climate control, they have a soft bed to sleep in, they have food every day and night, they have some automated form of transportation, and they have some regular source of income. So that puts you above, I'd say roughly 7 out of 10 people in the world, just right there. So we're doing okay. We're doing okay compared to other countries. If we can't afford 1% to help our allies and to assist other governments in fighting terrorism and economic types of cancerous growths we don't want to see pop up, then we aren't being smart. I think it's a good investment. In fact, to be honest with you, Ash, I know you'll probably hate me for this, I'd probably take that up to about 3% of our GDP. Ash says, I agree with helping our allies. There comes a point where enough is enough. True, but 1%'s not a lot. 1%, 1 or 2% of our GDP is not a lot. And for example, NASA gets 1 or 2% of our GDP, or not our GDP, but our annual budget. That's not enough, folks. You think, well, outer space, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. Well, it is necessary. It's the next great conquest. Some strong country is about to start staking claims in outer space, and that's going to pay off for them later, believe me. And we need to be involved in that big time. Not only that, but the science. The gains in science you gain from doing missions in outer space is huge. So I think we need to give more to NASA. Where we need to cut back some is we need to get our entitlements correct, and we need to, because there's a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse there, we need to get our government, our military does not need 20% of our budget every year. We don't need it. Our Navy's bigger than the next 13 navies behind it combined. So, I've heard about the solar flares. There's something else we should be investing in, Ash, and that's a NASA thing where they would have figured out how to totally protect our satellite communications from solar flares with simple shielding technologies, but we haven't done the research. So, Ash, do you know if these solar flares, I saw the article, I saw the warning, have they affected us yet? A good, strong solar flare can knock out everything, folks. It can knock out America's ability to defend herself. So this is a big deal. Those satellites go down, we are way too dependent on satellite technology. Oh, I thought those flares had already happened. You're saying they're happening this weekend? I know it only takes 8 minutes for light to travel from the sun to Earth, so I would expect that the solar flares are that fast, maybe a little bit slower. I know they don't exceed the speed of light, but it is essentially radiation, intense, probably gamma rays, I'd say. So that's what's going to interfere with everything. And, stuff falls out of the sky when you knock out your satellites, when you're that dependent upon them. We need redundant systems on Earth as well as protection for our satellites in outer space. That's a big deal. It really is. But people don't want to take it seriously until something happens. We need to change our thinking in America to prevention, not reaction. If we had prevented the catastrophe that happened with Katrina through adequate defense, say, of the levees, having them built up the proper way, everybody would still be bitching about how many millions of dollars we put into it, instead of realizing the billions of dollars we saved by doing it. Because they can't see, they can't imagine. Use your imagination to see where spending money can save money. So I guess that's still sort of applicable here. All right, now we're going to go down a few more here, and then I'm going to get out of here. These are just various questions. I wanted to see if there's anything interesting. In case I missed something, maybe, as far as racism goes, we haven't talked about racism. I believe that minorities are still oppressed today. I believe most white Americans, some high percentage, are not racist. I believe we've come a long way since the 60s, but that racism still exists, and it's still thick enough to affect entire minorities, and it needs to be addressed. I think affirmative action is in itself universally racist and needs to be destroyed. However, that insists that fair hiring practices are going on, and you can't guarantee that. So I have a problem in my mind there. Affirmative action is helping correctly, yet it in itself is racist. So we got to start going with who's qualified for what, and that's it, regardless of skin color. But that means you're making sure everybody gets the same educational opportunities. Charter schools are a big deal. We need more of them. Teachers' unions, I think, are a big problem right now. There are good teachers in teachers' unions, even if they are tenured. But you know as well as I do that teachers can totally bomb and still keep their jobs if they're in a union. So what do you do about that? You got to do something about that. Some more of these questions. This is interesting because the way they lay it out is questions for musicians, questions for authors, questions for actors, film, outrageous questions. Okay. What's the meaning of life? Oh my God. Well, all I know about the meaning of life is live it. I think we're moving towards something probably greater than we understand, so let's just keep pushing. Other than this interview, what's the stupidest thing you've ever agreed to do? Well, that's a good question. Stupidest thing I probably ever agreed to do was run through the middle of my town in my underwear, and I did it. I'm bad when I get dared. I'll do about anything. Second stupidest was probably skydiving. Is there life after marriage? That's a loaded question. Next, do you believe there is intelligent life on Earth? I think there's a capacity for intelligent life on Earth. I'll leave that at that. When the aliens land on Earth, why will you be the first person they talk to? Actually, I probably would, because I'm fair, and I wouldn't freak the fuck out and think we need to kill them. And at the same time, I would not inherently trust them. You need somebody who's thinking, because they're probably going to be leaps and bounds beyond us in intelligence. Frankly, if there were aliens out there and they have traveled this far, if they wanted to eliminate us, we'd be gone. They have not infiltrated our government on some magical plot to control the universe, or at least our world. They would have just done it, you know. Anyway, so do people think you're macho? No, I don't think so. If you could be any animal, what would you be? I used to think of myself as a wolf, because I was kind of a loner. I mean, in high school I had like 3 or 4 close friends, but I can do just about anything alone. I'm comfortable alone. I'm proud of what I can do alone, and I think my nature is that of a wolf, a lone wolf. How old were you when you lost your virginity? None of your business. How was it? None of your business. What's your mental equivalent of a G-spot? Good reading. Who reaches it? Oh, good question. Now they're asking the good questions. Mental equivalent. First of all, I don't have a mental equivalent of a G-spot, so that's a little bit loaded. But there are so many people out there that are so wise. I could spend an entire day, and I have, watching TED Talks. That's a lot of intelligent people specializing in their area, giving you the concentrated version of how to be expert in that area, or at least get to know a little about that area. So if I had to pick one category of information, I guess I'd say TED Talks. Love TED Talks. Do you carry paternity insurance? No. Do you consider yourself to be kinky? I do not. Do you have a favorite joke that you can tell on the radio? Yeah, I do. 2 guys walk into a bar. One says, ouch. Yeah, because it was the kind of bar where it's like a bar. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So you're getting it now. What do you see when you turn off the lights? Nothing, dumbass. Oh, Lordy. Who could you spend a year sleeping with without getting bored? I don't know. Jabba the Hutt? I mean, that's an interesting character. I don't know how he would fit in the bed, but are you sexually aggressive or passive? No, none of your business. Let's see. Questions for comics. I think I can answer these. Is it true that all comics had miserable childhoods? Yeah, usually. Pain balances out comedy. If you don't have pain, you can't understand comedy, and that's why you always see the comedy and tragedy massed together. Most comedians that are good have had pain. You got to have pain to understand humor. It's been said that comics have inferiority complexes. True or false? That is a loaded question. I don't have an inferiority complex, but maybe that's why I'm not too funny. How did you get along with your brothers or sisters? I had 4 sisters. I'd say, at least growing up, I got along very well with them. I'm still close with my youngest sister. And I was normally outside. What can I say? I was on my bike or playing baseball or basketball or football. That was it. That's how I spent my childhood. What's this year's best political scandal? I don't know. I'm tired of hearing about Benghazi. We've lost more people to choking on blue ink pen caps than we lost there, so I don't want to hear any more about it. Which public figure makes your job as a comic easier? Well, I don't know. W is always a good source of comedic content. Crazies, plenty of crazies out there. Glenn Beck, I think they always make for easy. Alex Jones, I can draw stuff off of them to laugh at all the time. Do you ever get stage fright? No, not on the radio. How do you deal with telling a joke that bombs? Well, almost all of my jokes bomb, so I just do what I call a damage assessment. So once the joke bombs, what you're looking at is how many of your targets have been destroyed and how many do you still need to get. That's what I do. Who are your favorite comics? I'd say Louis C.K. is a good one. I like so many. God, I like everybody, man. Seinfeld, I still think is funny. I used to love Richard, what's his name? Can't remember his name. The dude that always had neurotic problems. Dennis Leary used to be my all-time favorite, but then he kind of cleaned his act up. I never thought Andrew Dice Clay was very funny because it was just extremely sexist and, just nasty, just classless. But he did speak to a certain caveman mentality. I like just about all comedians if they're funny. Yeah, I think Jon Stewart's amazingly funny and smart. She's driving to work. Okay, geomagnetic storm watch. I'm gonna have to look. I'm looking up. Ash just shared. Thank you for sharing that link, Ash, because this still applies to who I am. So why not? We're under a geomagnetic storm watch. Solar storm heading for Earth. Oh, it's gonna start playing. Wednesday afternoon could cause some fluctuations in Earth's power grid and slight disturbances in satellites and radio transmissions on Friday, Saturday. Major disruptions are not expected. So, yeah. Anyway, they are saying you might see northern lights, though, in non-typical areas. I've already seen them. I was up in Alaska. It's not that exciting, really. I mean, once you've seen the sky turn colors a few times, you go, oh, that's neat. I mean, maybe I just don't appreciate art as much as I should. So I think I've given you most of what you need to know about me. And if you are a person who's thinking about co-hosting or doing a guest spot or thinking about whether or not to follow my show or not, that's been a good summary of it. I consider myself an incredibly fair person and somebody who insists upon truth. And that's sort of rare these days. That was where I found my niche, or niche if you like, where lying is almost fashionable in American media these days. And it's just not cool with me. So because I have this appetite for accuracy, that insists that there isn't lying here. And that means that we're relying mostly on facts. So that's me. That's me both in a nutshell and outside of the nutshell. And I hope that it has been informative to you. I don't see any more questions. I know I've probably missed some major ones. I'm sorry. If I can think of some major ones, or if you can think of some, feel free to ask them at the bottom in the comments on the radio notification, or if you're listening on iHeart, go over to the Facebook page, facebook.com/truthontapshow, and you can leave comments or you can ask specific questions. Again, this is going to be a show I point people to because I don't like answering the same questions over and over. It drives me insane. Repetition drives me insane. So I'm just going to refer you to this show. And believe me, I'll keep this link handy. This show is how you get to know Kevin Kierstead in under 2 hours. And that's what I'm going to refer to it as. It's really all I have to say about it. Ash, thank you for joining the chat. And this isn't one of my fun shows. This isn't one of my hugely informative shows. This was Kev's Philosophy, a reference. And I think that's how we're going to end it. So I will play a quick commercial for you on the way out for those of you that may have tuned in late so you know how to find me. And that's going to be the end of it. Since that is that, here goes this.
On Tap is now flowing from iHeartRadio. Get your Kierstead fix by Googling Truth on Tap with Kevin A. Kierstead. All the truth you can handle running hot on iHeart, Facebook, Spreaker, and more. You want the truth? You can't handle the truth on Tap.